Losing ain't an option, girl. Destination, top of the world. Top of the world.
Shalom. Giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakwadash, and double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations, as always, to the elect. Another episode going into news and prophecy as we link the things that are happening, all right, throughout the four corners of the earth, right before our very eyes, all right, to biblical prophecy through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, so that the elect can be comforted in these trying times, all right, as we enter into the straight gate to be delivered, all right, from our captivity starting, all right, here in Babylon the Great, which is the new spiritual Egypt, as well as the various different captivities where we've been scattered, all right, but through the Holy Spirit, Rachachwadash, we have been awakened in these latter days, all right, via the Holy Spirit sent from the Most High God, Yahweh, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, all right, Bahashem, in the name, all right, of Yahweh Shai, all right, the name of the only begotten Son of the Most High, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, via the Holy Spirit sent from on high. Now, as you can see here, all right, there's a lot happening, all right, things are, revving up, things are hot, all right, war, rumors of wars, all right, which are things which the Heavenly Father's Son told us to look out for. As a matter of fact, let's start there. Okay. In the book of Matthew, the 24th chapter. All right, Matthew 24:6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So these things are coming to pass right before our eyes. All right, before the end comes, all right, all of these things must happen before the second coming of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And when he comes, all right, it's going to end all of this madness. Okay, the heathen nations will be gathered together for war to try to fight Yahweh Shai, but they'll be crushed. And ultimately their elites will scurry into the bunkers, all right, awaiting, all right, the spiritual tabernacle, all right, New Jerusalem to come down, all right, and put their asses in captivity, all right. These are the days that we're waiting on. But before that, all right, a few more prophecies must be fulfilled, civil unrest, the implementation of the RFID, all right, micro C-hip, which is the MOTB in the Holy Scriptures, the mark, all right, of the beast, and also World War III, all right, Armageddon, in which we can clearly see by looking at, the things happening, how it's going to play out with all of these controversies going back and forth on Ezekiel 38 and, war after we get into the land. No, all right, we see all of the things that are written in Ezekiel 38, all right, and written in prophecy happening now, because these things are going to take place before, all right, we're returned back to the land. Now, as you can see here, all right, if you're not hip, all right, there's a friction going on between Israel and Iran right now. And as we've been going into in prophecy, this is showing you, looking at the title, of this video, U.S. admits Iran capable of major attack on Israel. But as you can see here, Biden vows to defend Israel. So as we see the war path that Israel's on, since the situation dealing with Hamas, which we believe was all set up so that they can go on the war path that they're on. Ultimately, since that point, they've been on, a terror, all right, waging war, all right, and pretty much there's up to 100,000 plus Palestinians that have been offed, men, women, children, they've bombed, health facilities. They've done and are continually doing nothing but wickedness, so much that even the UN is calling them out. All right. But with this latest happening, all right, as we'll go into it, Iran and its allies, okay, which, the allies of Iran, we see that they're a part of BRICS, but, China, India, Russia's an ally, are ultimately planning a large-scale attack on Israel within 72 hours. Now, we don't know if this is going to happen because the last time one of Iran's top officials was put to death, all right, they didn't really retaliate. They just, shot a few missiles off. But this could be what leads, all right, to full-fledged war, and this is what we need. But as we just read, you're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars. All right, so here it is, as it says here, Iran and its allies are preparing to launch a large-scale attack on Israeli forces within the next 72 hours. Okay, the heightened alert follows the recent assassination of Ismail, all right, Haniyeh, the head of Hamas political bureau, all right, in Tehran. The assassination significantly raised the stakes in the ongoing aggression between Israel, all right, and resistance groups in the region. All right, and we know Hamas was supposedly responsible for going into Israel, kidnapping people, leaving out. And since then, Israel has been on a war path to find, all right, those few members of Hamas. But in the process, they've offed and just destroyed, and they are garnering the support, all right, of America, and the likes of Vocab Malone even supports that they have the right to defend themselves. What happened to turning the other cheek? What happened to love? What happened to, suffering loss? We're not seeing any of these attributes being practiced by these small hats. All right. They've just been on a war path. Okay. And we believe that eventually this is going to lead, all right, to Iran, Russia, and the various different nations mentioned in Ezekiel 38, all right, waging war on the land of Israel, all right, and America being drawn in, which is going to lead to Armageddon, all right. But as you see here, political analysis Avi Ashkenazi, writing for the Hebrew newspaper, suggested that Iran's potential retaliation could be staged from either Lebanon or Iran, or as a coordinated effort between the two. All right. So, and this is what they've said, Iran's supreme leader, all right, which in times past they've been just talk. All right. But we'll see. It says, we consider it our duty to avenge the blood of Haniyeh that was spilled on the soil of the Islamic Republic, and so forth. Now, we'll see where it goes. All right. But with this, okay, we're seeing that U.S. has deployed at least 12 warships to the Middle East amid soaring tensions. So we already see the United States being drawn out. As it says here, the U.S. has deployed at least 12 warships to the Middle East, including the aircraft carrier USS, all right, Theodore Roosevelt's amphibious assault team, and over 4,000 Marines and sailors in response to escalating tensions in the region following the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, all right, in Tehran, and Hezbollah military chief, all right, Fauj, all right, Shakur, in the Washington Post reported on Thursday, citing a Pentagon official. According to the report, destroyers have been positioned in both the Persian Gulf and Eastern Mediterranean. The U.S. has redirected its warships from the Red Sea, where it combats the Houthi missile and drone attacks in Yemen, to protect commercial ships and support Israel. All right. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken urged all parties to cease escalating actions, a message interpreted, all right, as directed towards Israel following these assassinations. When asked if the U.S. had given Israel a blank check for operations in the Middle East. He responded, the current trajectory is more conflict, more violence, more suffering, and more insecurity. It is vital to break this cycle, beginning with a ceasefire in Gaza. And they're not going to cease. All right. We've seen even Biden mention that, Israel needed to stop, the assault, but they haven't stopped. They've just continued and continued because they know they have, all right, Babylon the Great and its other allies in their back pocket that are going to come to their aid. All right. But we can see that the least of the flock, let's get that in the book of Jeremiah. All right. Let's go here. Jeremiah 49:20. Therefore, hear the counsel of the Lord that he have taken against Edom and his purposes that he hath proposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Okay. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. The earth is moved at their fall, and at the cry of the nose. At the cry, the noise thereof was heard in the Red Sea. It's funny, we just read something about the Red Sea. Okay, so here we go. And this is speaking of what's going to happen to Babylon, all right? Because in the very next chapter, all right, which these are end time prophecies, all right? These prophecies are in what is known as the Old Testament, right? But these are speaking of today's times, you see? Because the ancient Neo-Babylonian Empire was not taken out by fire. The earth was not moved at the taking of the ancient Neo-Babylonian Empire. This is speaking of Babylon the Great, all right? The empire that will be in rulership, all right, in end time, and it will be ruled by Edomites. And here's the proof, Jeremiah 50:45. Therefore, hear ye the counsel of the Lord, all right, that he have taken against Babylon. Edom, Babylon, it's the same thing. And his purposes that he hath proposed against the land of the Chaldeans, all right, the land where witchcraft and madness, left-handed practices, all right, are pushed forth throughout the whole entire planet Earth. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. At the noise of the taking of Babylon, the earth is moved, and the cry is heard among the nations. So this is proof that Babylon is synonymous with Edom, see? Because the biblical Edomites, all right, run, all right, Babylon the Great, all right, and are at the heads of this beast system that dominates the earth via prophecy. This system we're currently living in, all right, which Israel was established by the British. That's why it's called the least of the flock. When you see this here, all right, we have been bringing this out. The least of the flock. All right, this word least is tazayar, all right, little, insignificant, younger, youngest, all right, and the British and the UN established, all right, this Zionist state of Israel in 1948, okay, and pretty much they've been on a war path to ethnically cleanse all of the Palestinians out of that land. But this is just a forwarding of the colonization that the beast system, all right, had been up to. All right. And it's funny here that you see in 1948, because that was the year that the state of Israel was established. OK, so I thought that was interesting. But the least of the flock, all right, the root word, all right, Tazawar, okay, Tazayar, Salakia, it says to be or grow insignificant, and they've become small among the heathen, all right. All of the different nations are now calling out Israel, all right. Even the Babylonians who are over here are calling out, the Biden administration, all right, for their support of Israel, okay. Because Israel wouldn't be able to do what they are doing without the aid of the United States. So what we're seeing is the least of the flock drawing out Babylon the Great, all right, to be made desolate, all right. And the necessary steps are being made, all right, so that this can take place, All right, now, as we see here, Biden vows to defend Israel against all threats from Iran. Okay, so we see this thing taking place right before our very eyes. All right, now, I wanted to play a few videos. Let's see which one we'll start with. Let's see what we got here. Give me 1 second. It's a few videos I have. But we're here, okay? As the scriptures say, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, okay? Let's get this one here. Give me 1 second. And then we'll get a few more, all right? But Israel has been on a war path, man, okay? And here it is. Christians like Vocab Malone say that they're justified in that. But we're not justified in going out on the highways and the byways, all right, condemning this place and saying that we're the Israelites. But they're justified in doing all of this wickedness, man. Give me 1 second here. Let's see if it plays. Oh, boy. All right.
Hamas and Iran are blaming Israel for the assassination of the top Hamas leader, and now they are vowing retaliation.
Now Israel is on high alert. NBC's Rolf Sanchez has the details.
Israeli forces are on high alert today after simultaneous threats from Iran, Hamas, and Hezbollah. Those come after the killings of two high-profile militants, one in Lebanon, the other in Iran. In Iran, we saw a mass funeral today for Hamas's political chief, Ismail Haniyeh, who Iran says was assassinated in an Israeli missile strike, his body due to be returned to Qatar. Iran is saying it has a duty to take revenge because that high-profile Hamas leader was killed on Iranian territory and just a couple of hours after he met with Iran's supreme leader. Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed militant group in Lebanon, is also saying it plans to strike back at Israel after Israel took out one of its top commanders in a strike in the southern suburbs of Beirut. The United States is scrambling at this point to try to prevent an all-out war and to try to keep the possibility of ceasefire talks to end the fighting in Gaza and bring the hostages home after 300 days.
Right. So it's been 300 days. The hostages haven't been brought. They've just been on a war path after what happened with Hamas. Now, let's check this video out here.
Flashing a victory sign surrounded by Iranian politicians. This was Ismail Haniyeh just yesterday in Tehran for the inauguration of the country's new president.
I'm going to skip.
In the early hours of the morning, he was killed in a precision strike. For the Israelis, Haniyeh was a wanted man. Here he was on October the 7th, praying for the success of Hamas fighters as they carried out a deadly rampage. But in the occupied West Bank today, he was celebrated as a hero and a martyr.
And this could also go into uproars of the people, all right? Earthquakes and uproars of the people. Let's go here. All right. They're killing, reporters who are trying to report on it. They're getting bombed. Check this out. Give me 1 second.
Or in the way that Israel thought it worked.
It's ordinary people in Gaza who are suffering the most under Israel's ferocious assault. Close to 40,000
See, it's regular people who are suffering.
Palestinians have been killed. Amongst the victims today, a well-known Al Jazeera reporter, Ismail Al-Ghul, and his cameraman, Rami Al-Rafi. Killed in what appears to be a targeted Israeli strike on their vehicle as they left the area around Ismail Haniyeh's former home. More than 100 journalists have been killed in Gaza, an awful price for documenting awful suffering.
So the people that are there trying to document, what's really going on, they're bombing them. They're targeting them and bombing them.
Crouched over his body, a colleague vows the coverage will continue.
احنا اعلاميين مستمرين في النقد والرساله. الله يحميك والله يحميك.
Well, earlier I spoke to Mohammed Marandi, an Iranian political analyst and professor at the University of Tehran, who told me he believes Iran's response will be even bigger than the last time it fired hundreds of missiles at Israel. We began with what the reaction.
See, and let's get a scripture real quick. This is the book of Psalms 58. All right. And 1. Do ye indeed speak, all right, righteousness, O congregation? Do ye judge uprightly, O ye sons of men? All right. So they're doing all of this because they're just the wicked. All right. It says, yea, in heart ye work wickedness. Ye weigh the violence of your hand. All right. In the earth. And we already know what Revelation, the 6th chapter says, that this red horse, all right, was given a great sword to take peace from the earth. All right. And we see, all right, the results of their rulership is nothing but war and hell in the earth. You see? But somehow, all right, we're the problem. Yea, in heart ye work wickedness, ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. You see? And their ill dealings are going to lead to, Russia, along with these various different nations gathering, all right, for war. Okay? We're living in a time where the Lord is getting ready to make a decision. So they weigh the violence of their hands throughout the whole entire planet Earth, man. This beast system headed by America. All right. But as we see, Israel is a part of that madness as well. You see? And now Iran is vowing to retaliate. And then and Israel is not going to stop. So what do we have is war is on its way. World War III is right around the corner, man. Okay. And there's very, very many articles and news, all right, leading to the fact that MOTB is they're trying to implement it. All right. We'll get that in another news and prophecy, but let's keep listening here.
Would be.
This time around, I think, yes, the response will be more severe, and the Israeli regime is going to have to pay the consequences. It's going to have to pay the price because the regime has the support of the West for all of its lawlessness, for all the...
See, the regime has the support of the West. You see what I'm saying? For all its lawlessness. Okay, so we can see how the least of the flock is going to draw Babylon into conflict. And it ain't going to end too nice.
crime that it carries out. The West is its partner in crime. And so the Iranians know that the only way to stop it is to punish it.
You're an academic, but I know you are well connected with the Iranian government. Are you saying this on your own gut feeling or based on conversations with people in government?
No, it is my belief, from my understanding of what's going on in Iran, that the response this time around will be more severe than what we've seen in the past. Not only because Marcher Hanieh was a guest of the Iranian government, but also because of the fact that he is leading the resistance of the Palestinian people.
I mean, it seemed clear before that Iran did not want a full-scale military confrontation. It did not want war with Israel. Are you saying that situation might change?
Yes, Iran does not want a full-scale war because it harms the globe. If we have a full-scale war where the Americans enter the battle, then all of those bases that the Americans have in the Persian Gulf region will be destroyed. All those countries that host those bases will be destroyed because they will be seen as hostile. And that will destroy the global economy because there will no longer be oil or gas exports from the region. No one will. And
this is why we say once Babylon the Great is destroyed and their bases and all of that, the economy of the whole entire planet is going to be messed up. Ain't going to be, all right, a system in place to where Russia can rule. You see, that's not going to happen. It's going to be in total disarray. And you got to understand a chariot is going to be in the sky. So everything that's written in Ezekiel 38, 39, all right, all of that coincides with what's going to happen leading up to Babylon the Great being destroyed and Armageddon taking place. It all right, goes hand in hand. You see?
Wants that. The Iranians don't want that. But Netanyahu probably does want that. The Israeli regime probably doesn't want it. They know that they are on the losing side and that history will judge them as it should, despite Western propaganda. But Netanyahu wants the war to be expanded. And the Iranians have no...
See, the West and its Western, media outlets have done a good job of keeping Israel as the good guy. but it's no longer working. And because of these, alternate news stations, and because the truth is coming out, many people are waking up to the war crimes and the history of violence of the state of Israel. All right. And this whole Zionist movement, which has nothing to do, all right, with the fulfillment of biblical prophecy of the true Israelites returning to that land. When the true Israelites return to that land, it will be to establish peace in the earth and to subdue the heathen and to establish a world order of righteousness under who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. All right. From that point on, there will be no more wars. OK, this is what we're saying here. OK, with this back and forth about Ezekiel 38 and the debate, we're not getting ready to debate you on the fact that once we return to our land, it will be to establish order and to clean the earth up. That's what the first 1,000-year period is for. All of these things that we are seeing are leading, all right, to a great destruction that's going to take place, all right, in which we're going to be delivered out of, starting at Babylon the Great, all right, and the four corners of the earth where we're scattered, okay, to ultimately watch all of the destruction taking place on the earth. All right. And the major destruction is going to be with Babylon the Great, which its own allies are tired of them. OK. And also with all of this happening, one of the allies of the beast system, all right, Turkey, all right, is ultimately, they're pissed off. OK, about what's happening to their Muslim brothers. So Turkey blocks NATO-Israel cooperation over Gaza war, sources say. All right. Turkey has blocked cooperation between NATO and Israel since October, all right, because of the war in Gaza, and has said the alliance should not engage with Israel as a partner until there was an end of conflict. So eventually Turkey is going to leave NATO. Many other nations that are a part of NATO and the EU they're all going to break up. OK, some are going to, go with Babylon, but the majority of them are going to be used as, tools to assault, all right, Israel and Babylon the Great. Israel carries the status of a NATO partner. So when we look at how, Israel is tied to the beast system, as right here is letting you know, Israel carries the status of a NATO partner and has fostered close relations with the military alliance and some of its members, notably its biggest ally, the United States. Okay, so the United States, all right, is in close, ties with Israel. This is why they feel so justified, all right, and going and doing all of this wickedness, because they know eventually America and some NATO members will come to their aid. Well, Turkey, they're not having it. Okay, they're not having it, man. All right, you can read more about that. But eventually, all right, as Ezekiel the 38 chapter prophesies, Turkey, all right, is going to join forces, all right, to come against Israel, all right, and then eventually against Babylon the Great. All of these things are happening, all right now, and will lead to the great war we know of, all right. It's going to be a war between Israel, all right, Iran, Russia, and all of these various different nations, as is stated in Ezekiel the 38th chapter, and that will then lead to America being drawn in and world war breaking out. Okay, Lord willing, all right, this is it. All right, but we know definitely that we are in those times. Let's go back.
No option but to punish him, to prevent him from continuing these outrageous acts. So it's really up to the Western Americans to end the genocide that they are funding and supporting.
Do you not feel that the Iranian people, some Iranian people, will not feel annoyed at the lack of Iranian capability to have stopped this? A missile attack on Israel would almost certainly have been shot down, as the vast missile attack on Israel was last time round. Iranian air defenses were unable to stop this happening. Has that not highlighted its weakness?
I think it's very clear that the Iranians had the upper hand, and that's why the Israeli regime was very careful not to continue the confrontation. And after the attack on the Iranian embassy, they discontinued attacks on the Iranians because they know that Iran has a very powerful drone and missile capability that they cannot match. But in any case, if they want to try, the Iranians will punish them, and the punishment will become increasingly severe. the West supports Israel, and therefore it's not going to stop it from carrying out these atrocities. And so the Iranians know that the only way to stop the Israeli regime is to hit it where it hurts.
And tell us a little bit about the new president, who most people here don't really know anything about. I mean, what is his likely disposition going to be?
His position on Palestine is very impressive, and he supports the resistance. He supports Hamas and Islamic Jihad and the collective axis of resistance in Yemen, Lebanon, Iraq, and Syria, which is supporting the people of Palestine. And I think that the Iranian people are united on this issue. And I think the whole world is now united. It's only in a handful of countries in the West where they continue to insist to invite and engage and applaud a mass murderer.
So there you go. All right, everybody's waking up to the evil of these devils, all right? And the only support that they're really, you see them continuously getting openly is really, all right, from a few places, mainly Babylon the Great, all right? But even citizens are now, when you go to these comment boards, all right, citizens are cursing this place out, man. All right, calling America out for its evil, all right, for support of the war crimes and all of the things that are taking place, man. Okay? Yeah, whatever. The guest is biased. Well, it's the truth of the matter, okay? Now, let's get this scripture here, all right, because we know what the scriptures say in the book of 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter, all right, in the 28th verse, all right, which we're not saying that this situation right here is, all right, fulfilling this scripture, but eventually this is what the scriptures say is going to happen. Behold, a horrible vision from the east, all right, in the appearance thereof, all right, from the east, all right, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia, the Arabs, all right, the sons of Ishmael, come out with many chariots, all right, those Muslims, all right, we see this happening now, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, all right, that all which hear them may fear and tremble, okay. Also the Carmanians, all right, and the Carmanians represent, all right, Iran, all right, if someone could put it on the comment board, all right, my computer is all jacked up, so I just want to get through this lesson, all right, Carmania, all right, that's the ancient name of the region of Iran, okay. Also the Carmanians raging, all right, and wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, all right, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, all right. So the Iranians, Iran, Persia, Carmania, all right, is going to join their Muslim brothers in war, as we could see, all right, happening here, as they're vowing to, you know, avenge, you know, these particular, attacks that Israel, all right, is pushing, all right, has done. And it says, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. Now we know in prophecy, Assyria, all right, speaks to America, Babylon the Great. So it can be some type of terror attack that takes place on, you know, American soil, which I believe that's coming. All right. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature. All right. The dragons of Arabia, and Ishmael is a wild man. All right. They're ready for war, and they're going to remember their nation and shall turn. All right. And if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together with great power to persecute them, then these shall be troubled and keep silence through their power and shall flee. All right. And their power is their, you know, speaking to their media, you know, using propaganda, you know. And from the land of Assyria shall the enemy besiege them and consume some of them, and their host shall be fear, and in their host shall be fear and dread and strife among their kings. So ultimately, world war is going to break out. But we know some of the major players, all right, in Ezekiel the 38th chapter, all right, when you read it, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, they're all going to be joined with Russia, all right, Turkey, Germany is going to side with them, and they're all going to wage war on the land of Israel, all right. And it's going to be a bloodbath. And eventually Babylon the Great is going to be drawn in. All right. We just have to see how it plays out. But these are major things happening, okay, that are very, very interesting. And that should get us, heightened in the spirit. Okay, because hey, the day of our deliverance drawing near. The Lord is coming through on everything that he said would happen. Now, see if we listen to a little bit more of this.
Mohammed Randy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, now let's go to this one.
The UN Human Rights.
Okay, this is a good channel, the Geopolitical Economy Report. UN says Israel is committing war crimes against humanity, all right, and extermination in Gaza.
Council has published a devastating report stating.
So basically, the Israel is doing so much wickedness that they're even being called out by Israel, okay?
Very clearly that Israel has committed war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza, including the crime of extermination of the indigenous Palestinian people, along with the crime of forced transfer, that is ethnic cleansing, along with torture and a litany of other egregious offenses. UN human rights experts have also emphasized that Western governments that are supporting Israel and arming it are complicit in these crimes against humanity that are being committed.
Israeli authorities are responsible for war crimes, crimes against humanity, and violations of international humanitarian and human rights law, including extermination, intentionally directing attacks against civilians and civilian objects, murder or willful killing, using starvation as a method of war, forcible transfer.
This was detailed in a report.
Using starvation as a method of war, all right? And they even used the scriptures to justify, all right, what they're doing. Okay? Let's get the book of Psalms, chapter 40, all right, and 1. Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, because he's getting ready to wage war, all right, in many ways in the earth, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent. Adder's poison is under their lips. Okay? Keep me, O Lord, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man who have proposed to overthrow my goings. All right? And anyone with talking points against those small hats, all right, you're going to be targeted. Okay? Because everybody is figuring out who the true problem of the earth is. You see? The wicked has been revealed. All right? The proud have hid a snare for me. They lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate. These talking points and these videos that we're doing and the stuff that we're saying is eventually going to be worthy of treason. Okay? And from that point, all right, they're eventually going to block this word from going out. All right? And it's going to require another level of faith. So this is why we got to continuously throw up these prayers. Okay, they're hiding snares. All right, the proud have hid a snare for me. All right, in cords they have spread a net by the wayside. They have set gins for me. Selah. I said unto the Lord, Thou art my power. Hear the voice of my supplications. This is why we have to continuously pray. All right, but this man is on a war path, and he's not going to stop because he's at the very end. The scriptures say, "Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, because the devil is coming down on you, having great wrath, because he knoweth he have but a short time." And this is a part of that.
That was published by the UN Human Rights Council this June, and it's officially called the Report of the Independent International Commission of Inquiry on the Occupied Palestinian Territory and Israel. And this is a body that was created by the UN Human Rights Council in order to investigate these war crimes committed in Gaza. And it features leading human rights experts on international law. And they wrote in this report that, quote, Israeli authorities and members of the Israeli security forces committed war crimes, crimes against humanity, and violations.
And as you can see here, somebody put today, Armenia recognized, all right, Palestine state, all right. And Armenia is mentioned in prophecy as well, okay. They, along with Turkey, are going to side with Russia, okay. So we're living in some beautiful times, all right. As a matter of fact, when you get, what's that? Let's get Jeremiah, I believe it's 51. Let's see here. Jeremiah 51 to show you boom, here we go. Jeremiah 51 and 27. Set ye up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her. All right. And as we can see, the nations ain't looking at America, all right, too hot. Okay. Call together her kingdoms against Ararat. All right. Against her, the kingdoms of Ararat. All right. Ararat, that's Turkey. Mini and Ashkenaz. All right. That's Mini is Armenia. See what it says here. And again, Israel is going to have a lot to do with these nations turning against Babylon the Great. All right, boom, region in Armenia. Now, let's see if we can find what this person said. About Armenia, all right? As they said, today Armenia recognized the Palestinian state, all right, meaning they're against what those small hats are doing. Let's see if we can pull that up. As a matter of fact, let's just keep playing this too.
Of international humanitarian law and international human rights law. The Israeli crimes include the war crime of starvation as a method of warfare, intentionally directing attacks against civilians and civilian objects, All
right. Armenia, Palestine. News. Okay, yep. Armenia's recognition of Palestine was not anti-Israel. Yes, it was, but we know the propaganda machine is going, they're not for it. All right, but, they play both sides here and there. Iran reestablished its presence in the Caucasus with Armenian arms deal. So Armenia and Iran are linked up, which when you go to Ezekiel the 38th chapter, all right, when it says the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, all right, that's in these regions, man. The region of Armenia, Turkey. Okay, we're in those times. Okay. We're in those times, man. Let's see here. Boom. The borders of Armenia. See, Armenia. See, but I didn't even know that Iran, all right, has an arms deal with Armenia. So prophecy is being played out right before our very eyes. Okay, Iran and Armenia recently signed a $500 million arms deal. All right, on July 24th, the deal includes various military equipment. Tehran will supply to Yerevan, including yada yada yada. Let's see here. All right, you can read. Iran and Armenia have signaled their growing ties in the recent months with various high-level meetings discussing the implication of potential changes in the border. All right. All right, and we'll read, more on that. But, basically, prophecy is being fulfilled, okay? Armenia, along with Turkey, all right, Iran, Germany is going to, eventually, side with them, and many other nations, all right, are going to ultimately side with Russia, okay? Again, here, Jeremiah 51, let's read it in 27. Set ye up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together, all right, against her the kingdoms of Ararat, Turkey, Mini, all right, Armenia, and Ashkenaz, all right, which is the area of Germany. Appoint a captain against her, which is Russia. Cause the horse to come up as rough caterpillars. prepare against her the nations with the king of the Medes. All right. And the king of the Medes is symbolizing Russia. Okay. When you go to the ancient, or not too ancient, all right, the USSR and its territory, all right, it borders the area where the ancient Medes, who were Japhetic, ruled. See? So this is all speaking to Russia being ahead of all of these various different nations here in these latter days. The captains thereof and all the rulers thereof, all right, and all the land of his dominion. Okay? And Russia is hype, all right? As a matter of fact, God is with us. Watch new Russian army recruitment video. The clip promotes military service while focusing on religious diversity and national unity. The Russian Defense Ministry has released a promotional video designed to encourage citizens to enlist in the military. All right. And here in Babylon, you getting ready to be told to join the military. Okay. Placing strong emphasis on different ethnicities and religious denominations coming together to face a common enemy. And who's that common enemy? Okay. Babylon the Great and Israel. All right. The 90-second clip released by the ministry on Friday depicts a fierce battle apparently between Russia and Ukrainian forces, which who's all right, using Ukraine as a proxy is, NATO or America. All right. On a sweltering summer day, several Russian soldiers have been ducking into a trench under the artillery fire, with one making the sign of the cross, saying Our Father prayer. So Russia is ready. We are Russians. God is with us, and he is with them to fulfill prophecy. All right. But he's also against their ass. They're also going to be taken down in the grand scheme of things. But the Most High is with them. All right. To fulfill a great prophecy in these latter days. And we're witnessing it take place. All right. Prayer is not just words. It is a powerful force. Be with the strong. Be with us. Join your comrades, the ministry says. Okay. See, people are joining the Russian military. They're built different over there. But over here in the West, all right, they can barely get people to join the military. The pale horse.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Спаси, Господи, люди Твои, и благослови победы.
And what they're saying, God is with us. And when you get Ezekiel 38, all right, although the Lord is against them, he's going to use them. All right. And all of these various different countries are joining Russia in these latter days. Okay. So this is a beautiful time to live in, man. And anyone saying that this is going to happen after we return to the land, okay, they don't understand the scriptures, man. And they're bugged out. All right. And ultimately they're stumbling at the stumbling block. Okay. But Biden and Netanyahu discuss U.S. military deployments to counter Iranian threats. So it's going down, man. But let's keep listening to this video as UN is even calling out Israel for the war crimes it's committing. This is how bad it's getting.
Forcible transfer, that is ethnic cleansing, torture, siege, collective punishment, and furthermore, they note that Israel has committed the crime against humanity of extermination. In a press conference on this UN report, one of the top human rights experts stated very clearly that the Israeli army is one of the most criminal armies in the world. Speaking here is the Australian legal expert Chris Sidoti, who was previously the commissioner of the Australian Human Rights Commission. The UN Human Rights Council selected him in order to investigate war crimes committed in Gaza. This is what he had to say after investigating.
You mentioned the Israeli army is the most moral army in the world. I mean, this is something that is said repeatedly by the current Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu. What I do have expertise in and what I do have an authority to do is make assessments of criminal conduct. And we've done that in relation to the recent events, and you can see that in the report. And the only conclusion you can draw is that the Israeli army is one of the most criminal armies in the world. But I'll leave morality to Netanyahu to determine.
The chair of this UN committee that was created to investigate war crimes in Gaza was the South African legal expert Navi Pillay. She was previously the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. And in the press conference detailing the results of this report, this top UN legal expert noted how people from the north of Gaza move south and suddenly they get attacked in the south. So Israel has clearly shown an attitude of not caring for Palestinians' lives, destruction, and dislocation. She added that there is very clear Israeli intention of forcible dislocation of people just to force them out. That is ethnic cleansing. And furthermore, she emphasized that Israel could not commit these crimes without third-party support, that is from Western governments, primarily the United States.
There you go. The least of the flock is going to draw them into battle. Beautiful times.
She said that, quote, had it not been for the help of powerful countries, Israel would not have been able to carry out this perpetual occupation of sovereign Palestinian territory. This is a top UN legal expert saying very clearly that it's not just Israel that is carrying out crimes against humanity, but also its Western allies that are directly complicit in these crimes. Another UN legal expert, Francesca Albanese, who is the UN Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories, she described Israel's war on Gaza as, quote, one of the most well-documented and boasted about G-sides in history. I don't say that word because then this will be demonetized and removed from the algorithm and it won't get very many views. But she said very clearly that Israel is committing the crime of G-side, and this is one of the most well-documented examples in history. And in particular, this UN expert was speaking about the Israeli attack on Gaza in June in Nuseirat, in which in one day, Israeli forces killed nearly 300 Palestinians and wounded nearly 700. That is 1,000 casualties approximately in just one day. She referred to this as going down in history as one of the most appalling examples of disdain for Palestinian life. This UN legal expert added that, quote, justice will knock on the doors of the perpetrators and their accomplices, the sycophants committed to whitewashing Israel's crimes while vilifying advocates for justice will have what they deserve, oblivion in the dustbin of history. Of course, I should also add that the top UN legal authority, the International Court of Justice at The Hague, said in a ruling that Israel can be investigated for the G crime. And furthermore, in a separate ruling, the ICJ at The Hague also called on Israel to stop its attack on Rafah in Gaza, where roughly 1 million Palestinian civilians were trapped, and Israel completely violated this ruling from The Hague. Furthermore, the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, also at The Hague, has applied for arrest warrants against top Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. And Israel attacked the ICC in response, and the US government attacked the ICC and threatened to impose sanctions on the ICC for daring to try to hold Israeli officials to account for their crimes against humanity. Here I'm going to play a clip from the press conference that was held.
And this is what it's all about. As a matter of fact, let's get these people are sick, but they're going to use their media to call people like us, all right, the true problem. But we don't have no military. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 50 and 16. But unto the wicked, the Most High said, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth? Okay? And this is what they did, all right, in 1948. But before that, they were already sending people over there, all right, to declare that they're establishing a state of Israel, right? They took the covenant in their mouth. Okay, now this can go to wicked Israelites as well. All right, but we know that wisdom is twofold. This is speaking to you small hats too. All right. Who the hell are you to take the covenant of the Lord in your mouth, seeing thou hatest instruction and cast it, all right, the words of Yahweh Bashmiel Shah behind thee. You aren't operating how the true children of Israel would need to be operating, offering up the right sacrifice. All right. And this is what Cain did. This is what the Edomites are doing. They're offering up the wrong sacrifice and thinking that they're going to somehow be justified in the end, knowing what's required of the Lord, man. You hate instruction. When thou sawest a thief, thou consentest with him. And you in Babylon, all right, Israel and America being in close, ties, let you know that they're consenting, all right, with thieves, all right, and has been a partaker with adulterers. America is the land of adultery, spiritual fornication, all right, physical fornication, all kind of adultery. All right, is spread through America. And here it is. You have the state of Israel, who is supposed to be the children of the Most High, siding with them, waging nothing but war in the planet Earth. Okay? Breaking covenants, which the land don't belong to any of them. All right, but all of this must be fulfilled for the sake of prophecy, man. Thou givest thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit. Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother, and thou slanderest thine own mother's son, the true Israelites. You see? These things hast thou done, and I kept silence. The Lord has allowed you devils to build up and build up and build up. All right, to the point where you really thought the Lord was with you. Thou thoughtest that I was altogether such as one as thyself. All right, you thought that ultimately Satan is going to have the final say. No, Yahweh Shai will, but I will reprove thee and set them in order before thine eyes. And we're being set in order while all of this is taking place. You see, at the time that all of this war and rumors of war will be taking place, okay, Jeremiah 15:3, for out of the north Russia cometh up a nation against her, against Babylon. And now we see how Israel, the least of the flock, is going to play a role in increasing that fire, right, which shall make her land desolate, and none, all right, shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast. See, and in those days, in the time where all of these wars are being formulated, where Russia and these different countries, Iran, are banding together against Israel, against the West, in those days and at that time, saith Yahweh, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together, northern and southern kingdom, going and weeping. They shall go and seek the Lord their God. And this is what's happening with the remnant. All right. They shall ask for the way to Zion with their faces thitherward, turning to the east, praying, saying, come and let us join ourselves to Yahweh. All right. Bahashem Yahweh Shai, in a perpetual covenant that shall not be forgotten. You see, and this is what's being prepared. The Lord is getting ready to, as it says in the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter. Okay. Joel chapter 3. Verse 1, behold, in those days and at that time, I will begin to bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. He's going to take us out of captivity. All right. I will also gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat. All right. Yahweh's judgment, and over in the east. All right. And I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and have parted my land. So the Lord is pissed off at what you're doing with the land, what happened to his people. All right. And he's getting ready to make a decision. All right. By what? Gathering. All right. And having all you nations. All right. Have a brawl for it all. You see? But these people are on a war path. Somehow, some way, they think that they're going to eventually, win and be able to establish their NWO and just go on like nothing happened. Nah, the Lord ain't going to allow that. If you believe that and you're doubting that the Lord is getting ready to stop these people, man, you better pray.
By the UN legal experts, these are the members of the UN Commission on War Crimes Committed in Gaza. And it's quite incredible to hear how clearly they state that Israel is committing the worst possible atrocities imaginable.
In relation to Israel's military operations and attacks in Gaza from 7th October, we conclude that Israeli authorities are responsible for war crimes, crimes against humanity, and violations of international humanitarian and human rights law, including extermination, intentionally directing attacks against civilians and civilian objects, murder or willful killing, using starvation as a method of war, forcible transfer. Israel's total siege of the Gaza Strip has weaponized the provision of life-sustaining necessities for strategic and political gains, including through cutting off supplies of water, food, electricity, fuel,
And this is justified in the eyes of Vocab Malone. Cut off water, starve people to death, torture.
Other essential supplies, including humanitarian assistance. It constitutes collective punishment, disproportionately impacting pregnant women and persons with disabilities, and is causing grave harm to children, including starvation-related deaths. We found that the immense numbers of civilian casualties in Gaza and widespread destruction of civilian objects and infrastructure were the inevitable result of an intentional strategy to cause maximum damage, disregarding the legal obligations of distinction, proportionality, and adequate precautions. Israel also forcibly transferred almost the entire population into small enclosures that are unsafe and uninhabitable. The deliberate use of heavy weapons with large destructive capacity in densely populated areas constitutes an intentional and
Now, here and there, you'll hear the Biden or the West say, you know, let's try to stop the war, but they haven't condemned all of this madness that they're doing.
direct attack on the civilian population.
Now, the last thing that I want to say here before concluding is that supporters of the colonial Israeli regime will often try to both
Colonial, all right, the colonization, all right, goes back to the British, all right, which is a forwarding of the beast system. Okay, that's all this is. This was never to establish a state where righteousness would flourish. That's going to happen through the true Israelites.
both sides the situation and say, well, the Palestinians are also committing war crimes and blah, blah, blah. And the United Nations, which is run by, many Western officials, the UN is actually very biased in the interests of the West, which is why it's rare to see these kinds of comments made by top UN experts. So because it's very biased in the interest of the West and it's biased against the Global South, the UN also contributes to making this false equivalence, this false binary between the oppressor and the oppressed, the occupied and the occupier. And in this report, they also accuse Palestinians of war crimes. But this is also very misleading because in international law, it states very clearly that the people living under illegal military occupation have a right to resistance, including armed resistance. This has been written clearly in international law. It has been reaffirmed also in numerous UN General Assembly resolutions that the Palestinian people who have lived for decades under an illegal Israeli military occupation have a right to resist with armed force against Israeli occupation with the support of the Western colonial power. So don't allow the supporters of this colonial regime that is committing crimes against humanity and ethnic cleansing, do not allow them to try to distract from this fact by trying to make a false equivalence. There is no equivalence between oppressor and oppressed, between people carrying out an occupation and people living under decades under that illegal military occupation. On that note, I'm going to conclude.
So there you have it. So, hey, man, as the scriptures say, all right, Joel 3:9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, gather yourselves together round about, thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, for there will I sit to judge the heathen round about. Okay, and this is all going to end, okay, with Joel 3:19. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness. This is Babylon the Great. This is the end goal, okay, for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. But Judah shall dwell forever, all right, in Jerusalem from generation to generation. All 12 tribes, all right, once this Babylon the Great is destroyed, are going to ultimately dwell forever. You see, from generation to generation, man. That's the Lord's plan. And all of these things are happening so that this can usher in, all right, the second coming of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, as we know in 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter. Okay, these nations are going to be in conflict with one another. Okay, in verse 33. Verse 32, 2nd Esdras 13 and 32. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, that these signs shall happen, which I showed thee before. And then shall my son be declared, who thou saw as a man ascending. All right. And when all the people hear his voice, all right, the chariot, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have against one another. And an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as thou sawest them willing to come and overcome him by fighting. But he shall stand up on the top of Mount Zion, all right, and Zion shall come and shall be showed to all men, being delivered into the chariot, being prepared and builded, like as thou sawest the hill graven without hands. And this my son shall rebuke the wicked inventions of those nations, which for their wicked life are fallen into a tempest. So the Lord is getting ready to come back and rebuke all of these bastards. But, all right, he has certain characters in play, all right, that are, you know, very, very important to getting us to that point. You know, so there's a lot happening. This is another video. Check this out. I mean, it's going down, man. I'm gonna just leave it there. See what we got here. Uh-oh. Here we go. Madness. This is madness, man. Harris vows to accelerate plan to depopulate America if she wins in November. Have to check all of this out. But whew, it's a crazy world, man. But as you can see, this devil has taken peace from the earth, man. Okay? You can pause it and read this. Brother video got taken down for trying to go into that. Kamala Harris vows to ban meat in America if she becomes president. So you niggas ain't gonna have no ribs here. You screaming for Kamala. But if she take away chicken and ribs, you niggas gonna lose your mind. Anyway, before we go too far, Iran orders direct attack on Israel. So beautiful times. Hopefully I'll edify, man. On to the next. Shalom.